Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, brought to you by TournamentPokerEdge.com, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to poker tournament strategy. Now here's your host, Clayton Fletcher.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. My name is Clayton Fletcher, and I am your host here in safe, socialist New York City. Happy to be bringing you yet another episode of the world's longest running poker strategy podcast. As I mentioned how safe New York is, and I can hear police sirens outside my window. It's the irony is not lost on me. I hope you guys can hear it. Anyway, yes, I am home from fabulous Las Vegas. Had a great trip. Got to play some poker tournaments, do some cash games, and even got to perform with my friend Doug Almeida at the LA Comedy Club inside the Stratosphere Hotel, which is newly renovated, by the way. It looks pretty nice. It's still empty, but I'd like to see the Strat come roaring back. I've always had a kind of a special place in my heart for that unusual property. Anyway, the comedy show went great. The poker was good. I'm going to share my results from all of the poker I played in the last 10 days at the end of this podcast episode. But first, I want to talk about the Bahama drama. I want to give my 2 cents on the controversial hand. I'm sure you guys have seen this by now if you're on Twitter, where, by the way, you can follow me at claytoncomic. Anyway, the way it goes is there's a 3-way all-in, and one of the players turns his hands up and says something like, "I'm all in against him, but not against him." And at that point, the dealer deals the flop with all 3 cards facing up. And eventually it was determined that the player who said, "I'm all in against him, but not against him," had folded. But guys, as usual, this all comes down to dealers not following procedure. When a player says, "I fold," or if you ask a player, "What do you mean you're in against him, but not against him?" Does that mean that you fold? When you confirm that a player has folded, then you take that player's card, turn them face down, and stick them in the muck so there is no confusion. And if you watch the clip of this hand, you'll see that that does not happen at any point. And then the floor is called over, and the guy's trying to say, "I meant to say I was all in against everybody." And he didn't really seem to know what was going on. Anyway, obviously, Ryan DePaulo was involved in the hand. What else is new? I mean, it just seems like controversy follows that guy around wherever he goes. I don't understand his popularity. The guy gives me the creeps, okay? I'm just going to keep it real here on the podcast like I always do. But the real point about this hand is the dealer did not follow procedure, and that's why there was some doubt. Now, by the time the dealer dealt the flop, he should have made a fist and banged on the table 2 times with all remaining players' cards face up, and everyone who folded, their cards should be in the muck. This should never have happened. Let me know what you guys think. I'm on Twitter at claytoncomic, or you can follow me on the TPE Discord, which you can join for free by clicking the link in the description of this podcast episode. Now let's talk about something more positive and heartwarming and happy. Just a few weeks ago, we had my friend Terrence Reed here as a guest on the podcast, and he is currently, as I'm recording this on Thursday, December 18th, Terrence is currently at the final table of the WSOP Super Main Event, a $26,000 buy-in. He's down to the last 4 players. He's already locked up $3 million. I could not be happier for my friend. This guy is a grinder. He's been part of the poker media for a great many years. He's one of the good guys in the game, easy to root for. He's got a stream, TJ Reed Poker, on YouTube where he posts all of his videos. He does a vlog. He's just a great dude, and I'm rooting for him to bring this home. I just can't wait any longer to record this episode. So by the time you are hearing this, that will be ancient history, but it does put a big smile on my face to know that my friend Terrence is at least $3 million richer. Good for you, TJ. Now you'll have plenty of cash to torch on the vlog. Anyway, It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Way to go, Terrence. On today's episode, I want to finish my recap of Day 1C of the WPT Prime Championship that I played in just a few days ago. But first, I want to take a look at two hands that we discussed on last week's episode. And this time, I'm going to use GTO Wizard, which of course is my favorite tool for improving my poker game. You can study, you can play against the Wizard. I promise the Wizard will beat you. You can play against other human opponents and the Wizard will help you improve your heads up strategy. You can upload all the hands you played online and the Wizard will help you find leaks in your game. So let's talk about a couple of the hands that I went over last week and hear what the Wizard has to say about some of my decisions. So again, this is the WPT Prime Championship, an $1,100 buy-in with a $5 million guaranteed prize pool, which they eviscerated. I think they got over $8 million for this thing. Now, the first hand I want to go over, the blinds are 100, 200, and 200. And we're all really deep. There's over 200 big blinds in everybody's stack involved in the hand. So this guy in middle position that I pegged as an amateur opens to 700, the standard raise for this table at this point in time. And it folds to me on the button. I've got the ace of hearts, jack of hearts, and I 3-bet to 2K. And my opponent calls with the queen of spades, 10 of clubs. So obviously my opponent's call is a bad one. Wizard folds the queen 10 offsuit in villain shoes 100% of the time. The calling range actually does include queen 10 suited, jack 10 suited, king queen suited, all the suited Broadway type hands, including 10-9 suited, plus all the suited aces, and lots of pocket pairs, all the way down to pocket deuces. So you've got plenty of hands to call the 3-bet with. You don't need to put offsuit, weak hands like queen 10 offsuit into that calling range. You don't want to be playing big pots from out of position with a hand like queen 10 offsuit. But anyway, that's what my opponent decided to do. But let's hear what the Wizard thinks about my decision. Wizard approves, but mostly it's a call. It's a 76% call and 24% 3-bet on the button with the ace of hearts, jack of hearts. So I'll give myself a check mark this time, but just know that sometimes I do need to be calling. Actually, 3 out of 4 times I should be just flatting with this hand. Anyway, he calls, and now the pot is 4,500, and the flop comes queen of diamonds, 6 of diamonds, deuce of clubs. Absolute whiff for hero. Villain checks, and I bet 1,200, and villain calls. So let's see what the Wizard thinks of my bet. Yes, the Wizard does c-bet this board 72% of the time, and usually at my sizing, but other sizings are mixed in as well, part of a balanced strategy. And we're only checking back 28% of the time, so I'm happy to see that. Anyway, villain calls, and now the turn, 6 of clubs pairs the board, and villain leads 2,000 into the pot of 6,900, and I decided to bluff raise to 5,300, and then villain calls. So let's look at my raise here. Obviously, villain is never supposed to have queen 10 offsuit, so we can't really check his line at all. But let's see what the Wizard thinks about my bluff raise. And yeah, it turns out GTO Wizard loves raising here, but usually much bigger than what I did. More like 4 times the bet. I did closer to 2.5. We only fold this hand 5.7% of the time. We flat call just 14% of the time. So I'll give myself credit for raising and finding this bluff. But next time, Clayton, go a little bigger. Give the guy a little bit more to think about. Anyway, he does call. And now with 17,500 in the middle, the river comes the 5 of hearts and villain checks. And I decided as soon as he called my raise on the turn that I was not going to try to barrel again on the river. My rationale was he's probably got a queen and it's going to be difficult to beat him. He may have a flush draw, but in that case, my hand is probably good anyway, so no reason to bet it at all. So I did check back, and the Wizard loves my give up. It's actually a 100% check back situation. We raised the turn. We tried to take it down. We couldn't. And this is one of those spots where you just need to give up. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad that I gave up, but I'm not glad that my opponent called my 3-bet with Queen 10 and ended up winning a big pot from me. All right, so let's continue on with GTO Wizard and look at another hand that we talked about last week. This one's from level 5. The blinds are 300 and 600 with a 600 big blind ante. And we start the hand with 105,000 chips, almost 200 big blinds, 180, 190, something like that. Anyway, I'm under the gun with pocket 10s. I make it 1,600. And now a new player who just joined the table and just has a regular starting stack of 40K calls on my left. And now the button, who is a wild player, 3 bets to 6,000, and he's got only 25,000 total to start the hand. So he's got about 40 big blinds, and the first caller had 70 big blinds-ish. So I have them both well covered. Let's say it's 70 big blinds effective. So now I shove, partly because I felt that the button could be pretty light here. He had already shown a propensity to go for those light 3 bets, especially in position. So partly to exploit that and partly to try to get heads up against just one of these guys, I shoved with 10s and they both called. So just pre-flop here, we now know that I ran into pocket aces and pocket queens and did not improve. But let's see what the wizard thinks of my shove. The wizard actually never folds my hand in this spot, and it also never calls. It's always either a shove mostly or a 3-bet, rarely to some other amount. So we're never supposed to just flat, and we're never supposed to just fold our 10s. It's a little bit too strong for a fold. So happy to see that my play is GTO Wizard approved. Maybe not so happy that I lost a big pot and was actually in 3rd place out of the 3 players involved. The first guy slow played his aces and probably feels like a genius. But, honestly, guys, we're supposed to 3-bet with aces there. It worked out for him this time, but that's not the preferred strategy. So, guys, you can see it's a lot of fun to play with this tool, GTO Wizard. It does help you get better at your game. And if you guys want to give it a try, I've got a great deal for you. You can get 24 hours unlimited access to all of GTO Wizard's features. And then 24 hours later, once you're ready to buy, you can save 10% off your first purchase only because you used my affiliate link. So that you can get the free trial and the discount, you have to use this link, gtowizard.com/p/TPE. All right, guys, let's talk about some new hands. And these, of course, will be from the same tournament. This is the WPT Prime Championship, Day 1C. Let's move on to level 8, which is the 600, 1200 level. And I've got 75,000 in my stack. So about 62 big blinds. 4 players limp in for 1200. I'm still at the same table that we've been talking about this whole time, the same starting table. The player under the gun limps, another guy limps, a weird French guy with sunglasses limps. And now I'm in the big blind holding the ace of hearts, ace of diamonds. So 2 red aces, and I decide it's time to go up. So the big blind is 1200. There are 4 limpers, and now I raise to 9,000. And the only caller is the player under the gun. Now, this is the guy from last week that I mentioned keeps showing me his cards. Whether he calls or not, he shows me before he mucks. And he's also shown me his phone a few times. And it seems like he's doing that on purpose as well, as he's having a steamy conversation with his girlfriend or whoever. Anyway, that's really none of my business, but I can't help but see what's going on. And I raise it to 9,000, and he's the only caller. So now I'm going to be out of position against what is almost certainly an amateur player. He strikes me as like a Midwestern guy. He's very big. He's kind of like 6'5" and just large, like a large Nebraska guy or something. Anyway, the flop comes 7-6-3 rainbow, and I decide to check and let my guy take a stab at it, but he checks behind. The turn is the 5 of clubs that puts a flush draw on the board, and now I can't check anymore. And now there's 23K in the middle. I decide to bet 5,000. I'm really trying to get some value. I want to make sure he doesn't fold a hand like Queen Jack, Jack 10. All these hands are drawing dead against me, so I want them in. So I make this small bet here on the turn, hoping he can call a bigger bet on a blank river. He does call, and now with 33,000 in the middle, the river comes the 8 of hearts. So no flush on a board of 7, 6, tray, 5, 8. And I decide to check this river. It's not my favorite river. I did not want to get raised. I decide to check. And again, we're hoping if he's going to bluff, it's going to be with a hand like Queen Jack or something like that. So I check, and he bets 10,000 into 33,000. And I can't resist the pot odds. I know I could be beat very easily, as there are 4 to a straight on board. But yeah, getting 4.3 to 1 against a bad player, I can't fold. I call and lose to ace-9 offsuit. So my man had limped in from under the gun for 1,200, and then a whole bunch more people also limped in. And then I raised to 9,000. So it's not a small raise. It's 7,800 more. Now this guy's got me covered. He's got over 100,000 at the beginning of the hand. So yeah, pretty hard to put him on ace-9 offsuit. That hand should obviously not be in the range at all for any type of under the gun strategy at a full table. But this is the world we're living in during the WPT Prime. Is poker dead? I think not. Anyway, same level. My stack is now at 60,000, still 612, so that's 50 big blinds. And they fold to me in the low jack, and I've got the king of diamonds, 10 of clubs, and I decide to open. I make it 2,500 with my king 10 offsuit. Obviously, big boy from Nebraska on my left makes the call from the hijack position, and now the action folds all the way to the big blind, who is that weird French guy with the sunglasses. He seems to be kind of, I don't know, like he's playing the Terminator in the new version of the Terminator movie or something. He's got these weird sunglasses on, and he's staring at people and just being weird. Anyway, he calls, and he's got about 50,000 in his stack. So the three of us see the flop, and it comes queen of clubs, 10 of spades, tray of spades. So queen, 10, tray with 2 spades. I've got the king of diamonds, 10 of clubs for middle pair, decent kicker. Now the French guy checks, and there's about 12,000 in the middle. I decide to bet my hand. I make it 3,800, and both of my opponents call. Now the turn comes the king of hearts. So our board is now queen, 10, tray, king. So I've got 2 pair, and the French guy checks once more. This time I bet 7,000 into the pot of 20,000. And my friend from Nebraska or whatever makes the call. And then the French guy from the big blind check raises to 20,000. So now I've got to start getting worried. Like, did he flop a set? Does he have ace jack, jack 9? Yeah, I don't love this spot because he did overcall on the flop. And now he's check raising into 2 opponents here on the turn. So I don't love it, but I'm not quite ready to fold just yet. I call for 13,000 more. And by the way, our French guy, he's only got like another 20K or so in his stack. And then Mr. Nebraska also calls. So I don't know, maybe I'm beating both spots here. I don't love this situation at all anymore. And now the river comes the deuce of diamonds for a final board of queen of clubs, 10 of spades, tray of spades, king of hearts, deuce of diamonds. And now our French friend shoves for like 23,000 into a pot of 80,000. And I don't know, guys. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm getting a decent price. I just don't see how my hand is ever any good. I mean, he got called in 2 spots when he check raised on the turn. Isn't it pretty hopeless to just bet like 1 pair or a busted draw on the river? I don't know. I folded my hand, and the big boy folds as well. And then my stack was down to 55,000, shortly before dinner when the blinds were 800, 1600 with a 1600 big blind ante. And I was in the big blind with ace king offsuit. And again, just like the last time I was in the big blind, a bunch of limpers, including my friend, the big guy under the gun, and the French guy. And they're all in there. They're just limping in, like 5 limpers. And I just make it 20,000 off of a stack of about 55,000 with ace king offsuit. I'm just looking to get it all in here. You know, it just felt like a little crazy to shove for this many chips, like 35 big blinds pre-flop. I don't know. Maybe it's fine actually to do that with ace king. But anyway, I'm effectively pot committed. I'm putting in 20 of my 56,000. And now the under the gun limper, who is that same big guy from Nebraska, just shoves for 90,000. Yeah, he's got like 60 big blinds. And he's just going to put it all in. Everybody folds back to me. I'm obviously not folding ace king in this situation. My man turns over pocket sevens and beats me in the coin flip to end my run in the WPT Prime just before the dinner break on day 1C. It was pretty frustrating, especially to run up such a big stack early and then not even make it to dinner, but that's the way some of these tournaments go. The next day, I didn't feel like I slept well, and even though it was sure to be a huge field for the final day of WPT Prime action, I wasn't in the mood to play, so I actually took that day off. And the following day, I played a seniors event at the Venetian that we'll talk about next time. But that'll do it for this episode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a good review, rate and review and subscribe and all the other good things. And for everyone here at Tournament Poker Edge, I'm Clayton Fletcher. Thank you so much for listening.